All right, so it is Damien, and this is a Marketing Food Online podcast. And if you are new to Marketing Food Online, we definitely have a podcast as well. We will upload this and record our session and put it onto YouTube if you are interested. So in this video particularly, we are going to dive into a couple of questions from subscribers. We're definitely hoping that you have an opportunity to understand how these two questions pan out and they're going to work for you. So the first question was, what is the difference between co-packing and a private label company? The next one up is, what are the things that you have to know before selecting the co-packer? So these are actually great questions, especially if you are a small food business and you're looking to scale your business. Co-packers can be that huge helper, if you will, to get you to the next level by producing a larger quantity of your products for you. Now, of course, they do cost you and they do charge a fee for all of their services. And I do have another video on our other YouTube channel about that as well. I just posted in regards to the 3 ways that they charge. So definitely check that out. If you're interested in the podcast, we are on 10 or 11, I think it is. What are we on? We're on about 11 different podcast platforms. Yeah, I'll have those links down below. Check us out. You can definitely hear us and listen to us on the go. We've got over 200 episodes, and we've just surpassed, I think, about 50 or 60,000. Is that right? 50 or 60,000 downloads. So thank you guys for the support on the podcast as well. So let's jump right into this. So what's the difference between a co-packing company and a private label one? Now, co-packers will bring together your ingredients, your product, your packaging, and create a finalized product for you based upon what you need from them as far as your specifications, an ingredient, a recipe, a packaging process, whatever it may be. So co-packers will bring together all of those elements and create a final product. So the other one is the private label company is actually a company who will create a product that they already have, that they create, that they may have a list of items that they do, and they're simply going to put your name on that, your logo, your brand, your label, if you will. And of course, as always, I use as an example the hot sauce. So if you have a hot sauce recipe, you bring it to a co-packer, they will produce that actual recipe, they'll make that, they'll bottle it, they'll label it and seal it up and get it set in your case packs ready for shipping. But if you go to a private label company, they may already have a list of, let's say, a dozen different hot sauces that they already make. You see the difference? So they have a finalized product that is, if it's what you're looking for, you simply put your label on that product and you're ready to go. Okay, so the differentiating is between the process of actually making it or simply offering a finalized product where they more or less just put your label, your brand on it, and they'll brand it for you. Okay, so let's get into what are the things you have to know before selecting the co-packer. I've got a list of items here on my computer. Number one, do they need money up front? Is there an advance up front on some co-packers and some co-packers don't? They'll sometimes actually ask for a quarter or half of it up front, or they'll ask you for the full payment. Now, this is a big deal because if you're a small food operator and small food business, you've got some momentum with your product and you're looking to sell it and you're looking to get somebody to produce it for you, but you may not have that much money up front to do that with, okay? So if there's a way that you can work out payment, or if there's a portion up front and then when they're completed, you got it, the rest of the amount that you owe them, then that's a better way to go than obviously paying them full up front. Now, that's really important too if you're going to be selling to a retailer. So is the retailer or someone else who's buying it from you and the co-packer is making the item, are they going to pay you up front, and that way you can pay your co-packer? So check to see first if they do need money up front or if they've got some type of a payment plan or if there's a portion that's needed. Next up, the turnaround time. This is super crucial. So if you're dealing with a retailer that says, I need this product, 2,000, 10,000 cases in the next 2 months, what is the turnaround time for that co-packer? Do they have the ability, the facility, the employees? Do they have the manpower? Do they have the machinery, everything to put this item out in time? You need to be very, very careful about that, because if you're telling somebody, a retailer or some other storefront or an e-commerce business, hey, I can get you so many cases in a certain amount of time, the co-packer needs to be able to do that. Next up, minimum and maximum. So what is the minimum amount that they're going to require? Now, a lot of co-packers today have, because of e-commerce actually, have exploded. There's a lot of different co-packers that are opening up left and right, and they're lowering their minimums. Some of them like 800 units, 500 units, instead of like 10,000 or 100,000 units or even 50,000, and they're going up to about 1,200 or 1,000 units on their low end. Now, that's really, really important, because if you only need a few hundred cases, why are you going to go to a co-packer when they say, well, I need 3,000 ordered from you, okay? So that's definitely something you want to think about as well. Now, the other aspect to this is the idea of their maximum. I'm sorry about the phone call. I do these in our office. So we have a YouTube studio inside my office, so occasionally I get a phone call come through. So what are their maximums? Now, if you need a certain amount, that's going to be 20,000 units or 50,000 units. Can they produce that? Some of the co-packers have a maximum that may be less than what they can do for you. that may be a problem. So minimum and maximum, how much can they put out and what's the minimum for that? Next up, references. If you're working with a co-packer and they don't give you some type of reference or say, hey, some referral, some guy, hey, we work with this company, that company, this company, you might want to look at a different company, because companies that shy away from giving references may had a bad experience or may just say more about how they run their business. So references are ultra important as well. And these are some things you need to know before you select your co-packer. Next up is the equipment. Does the co-packer have the proper equipment to do what you're wanting them to do? Now, if a co-packing company says, hey, you know what, we do spices, that's great. But do they have a facility that can do it in bags, or they do it in jars? Do they do it in glass jars? If you have a unique shape for your spice bottle, can they accommodate that? You need to make sure they have the right equipment in order for them to create a product that you actually need, okay? And that's something, again, not every facility is equipped the same way. So do they source? So can your co-packer source with the items that you need? Like, for instance, if you've got a spice blend, it's got 4 basic spices and in a bottle and a lid and a label, can they bring all that together, or are you having to source that and having that shipped to the co-packer? So you need to understand that many of them may request that or ask that about that and say, look, you know what, we need you, Damien, we need you to actually source everything and just bring it in. Once we have all the product together, we'll get going on this, and we're going to start on X amount a day, so make sure all of it's in here. Sometimes they offer that service, but if they do, you need to understand that's also going to cost you money, okay? So next up, do they ship, and can they ship to multiple locations? So you've got a grocery chain and you've got 10 different stores. Now, are they going to have the ability to ship to all of them? And if they do, great. What's the fee for that? Because you know it's going to cost a fee to have one of their employees do that. So when it comes to co-packing, and knowing everything you need to know before you select one, you need to make sure that that's something you ask them seriously about, because you may need multiple boxes being shipped to multiple locations. Okay. So lastly, last up is, can they follow your process to a T? Do you have a specific process to make your product? You do, obviously. Can they follow that? Some co-packers will say, hey, you know what? We don't necessarily do it that way, so this is how we do it. Well, that may turn out a different product. The quality of the product and what you're expecting of the product for your customers may not be the same, and that's going to be a problem. So you need to make sure that they are actually doing that they are following to a T whatever it is that if you're making salsa and you have to cook it at a certain level. If you've got a certain spice that goes in at a certain part of the recipe, if it has to be cooled and bottled, and everything about what you're doing, it needs to be followed to a T, and you need to make sure that they're willing to do that. Some co-packers will push back on that and say, you know what, we don't offer that, and we can't necessarily do that. So there's a few tips there, and of course, as the opening of the video, I hope that distinguishes the difference between what is the difference between co-packers and private label companies, and kind of the functionalities of what they do. They are sort of slightly the same, but it's the process that's a little bit different. That's what you want to look for. So thank you guys for watching, and definitely thank you for listening to the podcast. I'm going to post this up on YouTube if this can help anyone on our YouTube channel as well. And I'll see you guys on our podcast, and definitely see you on our next video. Thanks, guys.